Hey guys, I'm at the Oak Grove Cemetery in Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm here for the grave of General Thomas Stonewall Jackson. Jackson was born in Clarksburg, now a part of West Virginia, and orphaned at a pretty early age. He received an appointment to the United States Military Academy and graduated in the class of 1846. He and his classmates were called up shortly after graduation for active duty in the U.S.-Mexican War. He acquitted himself well in battle, but resigned from the Army in 1851 and accepted an invitation from the superintendent of Virginia Military Institute, V.M.I, to teach there. Once in Lexington at V.M.I, he became friends with Washington College President George Junkin, and that's how he got to know the Junkin family, including the daughters, and he eventually married L.A. Junkin, a marriage that would end when she died in childbirth in 1854. She was buried in the Junkin family plot together with her stillborn daughter. 3 years later, Jackson married Mary Ann Morrison in North Carolina, and in 1858, the couple purchased a home on Washington Street in the same city. It would be the only home that Jackson ever owned, as in 1861 he was called to Harper's Ferry to serve in the Army of the Confederate States of America. It was the Battle of Manassas in July of 1861 that he received his nickname Stonewall, and his brigade became known as the Stonewall Brigade. He showed his skills as a commander in the Valley Campaign. Those battles would become textbook studies for military academy instruction in the United States and Europe following the Civil War. Jackson was, of all things, wounded by friendly fire in the Battle of Chancellorsville and died of his wounds 8 days later on May 10th, 1863. I think he was shot like 4 or 5 times as he's coming back from a kind of a scouting mission with some of his troops. And they just mistaken him for Union and shot him. And like I said, I think they shot the shoulder. I think they took his arm off. And, battlefield amputations never good, of course, at any time, but especially during the Civil War. So many deaths from, infection and gangrene. Jackson's body was returned here to Lexington and buried in what became Stonewall Jackson's Memorial Cemetery. Everybody was at the funeral. Like I said, he was quite the honor. Jackson's camp servant Jim Lewis, an African American man who had been by Jackson's bedside the whole time when he died, led the riderless horse to the cemetery. Also buried with Jackson are Mary Ann Morrison Jackson and several other family members, and they're all kind of buried around the base of the main tombstone here. I'll zoom in here in a second. The statue of General Jackson was sculpted by Edward Valentine and was erected in 1891. Richmond born and Europe educated, Valentine is best known for this sculpture, recumbent Lee in Lee Chapel. There's a crowd estimated at 30,000 on behalf of the dedication for the statue atop the tombstone there. And General Early delivered their principal address, and photographer Michael Mealy recorded that ceremony, which you can again see here. So all the way around, like I said, around the tombstone here, and I'll try to zoom in, are his wife, who was reinterned, and several of his children. Like I said, all buried around the base here. Really an amazing final setting for this Confederate general, Stonewall Jackson. As I walk around a little bit more about Oak Hill Cemetery, it's it's one of Lexington's oldest. It's really the historic burial grounds of the community, and it really began with the early settlement of the community. The cemetery has rich history, well beyond the Civil War, and well into current century. It's the burial site of kind of the who's who again of the Civil War. General Pendleton, Lieutenant Colonel Pendleton, Benjamin Darst, who was became quite the builder in the area. General Andrew Moore as well. Colonel Bauer, also another individual buried here. Like I said, it's a who's who of the local folks here, and you can kind of zoom in here, and you can kind of hard to read all these names. I know it's kind of far away, as close as you can get. but having all the family buried around him, quite the opportunity. Reverend William Wright, he was a early minister and good friends with Jackson. You have Jacob Bear, who was a clockmaker and was tasked with making clocks in 1820 and became quite well known. There's several amazing stones as you walk around this whole cemetery. I wish I had more time to show you all of them, but of course time is limited here, unfortunately. They do have a great walking tour booklet you can pick up here at the main gates.